Hi, this is FUAD ABASOV, a broker with Right at Home Realty, and this is your monthly real estate statistics. Canada's housing market is off to a cold start in 2023, as home sales in January were the lowest for the months since 2009, while prices were relatively flat compared to December. For the past few months, the market has been stripped of urgency and has returned to a slower, steadier, and healthier market that is focused on one factor: affordability. Many regions already moved toward balanced market conditions. Although we're experiencing a shift in the real estate market, we're still seeing many multiple offer situations in various areas and price points. One reason could be because prospective home sellers have postponed putting their properties on the market. That has reduced the number of new properties for sale, increasing the competition for the few homes that are available. Exactly a year ago, homeowners had to endure intense bidding wars, causing some buyers to ditch conventional home buying best practices, including home inspections. During that time, the Canadian real estate market transformed into a seller's paradise thanks to historically low mortgage rates. Since February of 2022, Canadian home prices fell from completely unaffordable to laughably expensive. The average price of a property dropped by 13.2%, the biggest decrease ever recorded. There's a catch, of course. Prices fell because demand fell, and demand fell because mortgage rates shot through the roof. Many expect mortgage rates to stop rising or even fall from here. When interest rates are higher, variable rate mortgages can be more attractive to some buyers because they often have lower initial interest rates than fixed rate mortgages. Today, majority of buyers are feeling increasingly confident in taking on variable rate mortgages as Bank of Canada hints of a rate hike slowdown. Experts are saying nationally we're in a market of deceleration, when home prices continue to appreciate, but at a slower pace than previous years. It is definitely a good time for buyers to consider buying a home today, as the market has become balanced and prices are still affordable. Now, let's take a closer look at detached home sales in Toronto and surrounding areas. In Toronto, the amount of sold properties was down by 33% compared to January of last year. The average selling price was $1.51 million, a 21% decline compared to January of last year. The amount of new listings dropped by 10%. The amount of days on the market until properties were sold was 28 days. In Vaughan, an average selling price of detached home in January was $1.81 million, a 15% decline compared to January of last year. The amount of sold properties was down by 39%. It took 23 days for an average detached home to be sold in Vaughan. An average selling price of a detached home in Richmond Hill in January was $1.94 million, a 7.4% decline compared to January of last year. 58.7% decline in sales compared to January of last year. It takes 23 days for an average detached home to be sold in Richmond Hill as of today. In Mississauga, an average selling price of a detached home in January was $1.38 million, 29% decline compared to January of last year. A 52.8% decline in sales compared to January of last year. It takes on average 31 days for detached home to be sold in Mississauga as of today. Markham, an average selling price in January was $1.66 million, a 23% decline compared to January of last year, a 19% decline in sales compared to the same period of last year. It takes on average 16 days for a detached home to be sold in Markham today. Newmarket, an average selling price of a detached home in January was $1.31 million, almost 15% decline compared to January of last year. Sales went down by almost 24%. It takes almost 16 days for an average detached home to be sold in Newmarket today. In Aurora, an average selling price of a detached home increased compared to December and was sitting at $1.64 million in January, 13.5% decrease compared to January of last year. Sales went down by 28.5%. It takes on average 16 days for a detached home to be sold in Aurora today. Innisfil. An average selling price of detached home went up compared to December and was sitting at $837,000. 32% decline compared to January of last year. Sales went down by 32%. It takes on average 43 days for a detached home to be sold in Innisfil today. Bradford. An average selling price $1.07 million. A 30% decline compared to January of last year. 19% decline in sales compared to the same period of last year. It takes on average 25 days for a detached home to be sold in Bradford today. Milton. An average selling price in January was $1.32 million. 16% decline compared to January of last year. Sales went down by 42%, and it takes 27 days for a detached home to be sold in Innisfil today. An average selling price of a detached home in Stoufville in January was $1.53 million. Prices declined by 35% compared to January of last year. Sales were down by 41% compared to the same period of last year. It takes on average 19 days for a detached home to be sold in Stoufville today. In Barrie, an average selling price of a detached home in January was $839,000. 22% decline in prices compared to January of last year. A 45% decline in sales compared to the same period of last year. It takes on average 27 days for a detached home to be sold in Barrie today. While it's difficult to make any definitive predictions in regards to real estate market in 2023, it seems as when this battle against inflation is over, we're going to be right back in the same situation we were in, with way too much demand for housing and not enough supply. It's worth noting that real estate markets can vary widely by region and even by neighborhood. Very important for buyers to do their research and work with a knowledgeable and experienced real estate agent to understand the specific market conditions in the areas they're interested in. It is important to stay informed and be prepared to act quickly if you find the right opportunity. If you'd like to receive your own personalized sales report about home sales on your street or in the neighborhood, please email me at sold@fuadhomes.com or call me at 647-801-3401. Thanks for watching and see you next time.